Stories that matter. Guess what? 42 years later, Asaa and Obile, two neighboring communities in Ohaji Egbema Local Government Area of Imo State Nigeria, are still losing their women, husbands, and children because they couldn't access care at the right time in their communities. We set out to Asaa and Obile to let the people unburden and share their stories with us. These communities are widely known to have oil and plays host to a popular oil company, Seplat. Meanwhile, their major occupation is farming. If you've ever bought the Ohaji Gari, you'll know this. It is harvest period, so we met most villagers peeling freshly harvested cassava when we arrived Obile. We met Constance, a farmer and a mother who lost one of her babies during childbirth, and she shared her story with us.
Since I've lived in Obile, the things we've lacked here are numerous. It's just God who's been saving us. No hospital, no light, no water. We go far to the river to get water, or we buy water. That's if we have the money.
Ma imo dying self ka na eje ba hu kru mmiri duto pump ano o anya zo boho ma na iji ego ezubuho nwe ha na emeba.
Nothing is happening here. We are suffering a lot, but God has been saving us. When I had my first issue, it was a boy. I have 3 girls now, and it hurts me, and this was because there was no hospital. I went to give birth in a place just like my house. They said they can't treat me properly because they didn't have the means to.
Treatment how get treat him.
And the child died even before I could deliver him. I still wait for that child to today.
Even self today. Even since
the last child I had is now 5 years old, and they said I had a problem while giving birth to her. I still want to bear children, but they said I had an infection the last time and we have to treat that first. I've been trying to see if I can get a male child since then.
One thing that struck was the traditional birth attendants and midwives, which are the major saviors of pregnant women in these communities. From one room to renting 2 rooms, these women have helped save pregnant women in many ways they can in Asaa and Obile. Ngozi has been practicing for 21 years, and she refers cases beyond her to Federal Medical Center Owerri or General Hospital Umogoma, which is about an hour from Obile.
My name is Ngozi Ozilam. I'm an indigene of Obile. You see the way I work, I don't want to be held accountable for any case of murder, so I tell them on time. If they start having signs of labor, they should come on time, and when I observe them, if it's something I can't handle, I tell them to start going to the hospital on time. Sometimes, when someone wants to put to birth, they may start with heavy bleeding. In cases like that, when I can't control it, to save their life, I refer them to the hospital. When some people do not have enough bone to deliver on their own except through operation, I'll refer them. Or if the baby is breached and can't come out easily, I'll refer them.
No, breach. That the baby cannot come out easily. I will refer them.
Sometimes the people in this village, when you refer them to a place like this, they say you are putting them on a high jump by referring them to a place where things are expensive for them. We used to have antenatal every Wednesday, but since the crisis we had in this community where many people were killed, there has been none. Since then, everywhere has been disorganized. It's been over 2 years since we had peace here, although I attend to the people I can. When they have a case, they come to me. This community barely pays attention to antenatal. This place is a village and most women here are farmers. When you fix antenatal, they will say they are going to the farm or to the market. So when you fix it, 1 or 2 persons will come and the rest will give excuses. They hardly meet up. The truth is, we don't have a doctor close to us. If it will be possible for the government, they should assist us with one, if it's possible.
What happens when the local maternity homes promise safe delivery, even when they do not have the capacity to? Here is a story of 22-year-old Wisdom, who trained to be a drug dispenser, but sales failed to earn a living. He got married in 2019, but lost his wife and his first child in 2020. It was on the 4th of September 2020. I was at work when my pregnant wife called me on the phone and complained about a strange feeling like that of labor. I came back quickly and she requested I take her to the maternity where she registered for delivery at Umoba in Obile community. When we got there, the midwife Obogo checked her and also gave her injection and asked her to come back again whenever she notices anything or any signs of labor. So I brought her back home and left for work again. Around 7 p.m. when I came back from work, I didn't see my wife at home. I rushed to the maternity where I saw her and the midwife. The midwife asked me to go home and prepare her something to eat, which I did, and I returned about 8 p.m. when she was in labor. From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., she wasn't able to deliver. But before then, we were told from the scan results that the baby is big and she might not be able to deliver through normal delivery. But the midwife said she would be able to deliver the baby herself, that all she needed was time. 12 a.m. in the next day, nothing is happening. I ran to church where I was told to perform some rituals in the maternity to enable her to deliver safely. I followed the instructions carefully, but all proved abortive. I had to hire a bus that took us to St. Anthony, Amafo. The doctor said we must deposit the sum of 50,000 naira. I called my uncle to brief him about the situation, and he advised me to deposit the money if I had it in order to save her life. The doctor also requested I pay for registration first before the deposit, which I did. Along the line, the doctor said my wife needed blood and the hospital doesn't have any in their bank. I called my uncle again and he suggested we move to another hospital. He came with his car and we went to Umezurike Hospital. Umezurike Hospital said their wards are full. Then we went to FMC around 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. But there was no one to give us directions at that time. So we waited to 7 a.m. and then we were directed to emergency ward. FMC doctors and nurses attended to us very well without asking us to make deposit first. I hear people say that FMC don't attend to patients. Our case was different. I did all the necessary things as directed by the doctors, both registration, purchasing of blood, and more. At the end, my wife was operated on. After the operation, she came out of the theater, but the baby was unconscious. With the help of oxygen, the baby was able to breathe, but it wasn't steady. My wife kept encouraging me to be strong and that nothing would happen to her. I couldn't tell her that our baby had just died. On Sunday, 6th of December, as early as 5 a.m., my wife started telling me to take good care of our baby. I asked her why she's saying all that, but she kept on saying the same thing. Then she instructed me to take her Bible to the church and some other things she said I should do too. I told her nothing will happen to her. Immediately I told the doctors to get more oxygen because I needed to save my wife. They brought 2 big cylinders of oxygen, but all to no avail. Then she was rushed to another ward called the ICU, but before they could do anything, she gave up the ghost. When I came back home, I summoned courage to arrest the midwife, but people pleaded I let it go. Maybe it was meant to be that way. If there's a good hospital around here, all these would have been avoided. The lack of a good hospital, qualified nurse, or midwife around here contributed to their death.
At least, I'll provide
Government should help us with hospital. At least, it will help save lives. The healthcare center Obile and Asaa, which could have been the closest place for wisdom to have taken his wife, isn't well equipped. What about people with mobility impairment? How inclusive is healthcare for them in a place like this? We went on to meet peace in Asaa community.
It was chemistry because I didn't attend hospital before. I will explain to them. They will give me the drugs. I will make use of my wheelchair and went to the place and purchased the medicine. Like the place that I gave birth, that place is very, very high, as you said. But I will just come down from my wheelchair and they will help me carry the wheelchair to that inside the place. So that is the way.
We counted close to 10 pharmacies or chemists, as they call it in Asaa and Obile. And this is the major way the people here get treatment. Seems to be a thriving business without running tests.
20 people or 25 people. I'm a pushing with hospital. I want hospital. Masa Hanaga, ebe chemistry so now, so we don't know. There's no hospital. Hospital there now, Obile. Even the Asaa, I say when hospital, I went hospital. Hanaga near chemist. All I say, oh, she can have. And get Haga lab. And I not one no can sometimes Maga hour or Asaa. Once hatchery is all. I'm more share. I'm baby. Have you known? Hansi, Johansi, it's not to Jimmy Gaggin. Gegu, Mama Zogun.
Community pharmacies are becoming increasingly recognized in many parts of the world as a source of professional medical advice. But in Obile and Asaa, in Ohaji Egbema, it increases self-medication and has led to people losing their lives due to quacks giving them injections. Emergencies are inevitable. Nobody knows who is going to have an accident. Families have lost their loved ones just because they were looking for a place to be treated. It is heart-wrenching carrying the one you love around, only to meet closed doors, or people who cannot help save the person, only to end up losing the person to a failed system.
I came home 26th of November 2020 for my father's burial. So that evening I was taking my bath when I heard a shout. Lo and behold, I came outside, I saw my elder brother holding the little baby in his arms. I went in. That time when I came out, I was tying my towel. I rushed him. I changed over. That is, we went found everywhere. Right from where they say they had a hospital, the downside of Obile, that's Sumoboke side. We could not find any. We went to Asaa. There was no hospital, nowhere, no nothing. We went Awara. We went as long as going to the health center. The only health center we had in Obile, Awara, Asaa, was locked. Then I came down. I asked somebody, say, where can we see, even if it's a chemist, for them to restore the baby's life? There was no way.
9 years to achieving universal health coverage, yet people in Asaa and Obile, in Ohaji Egbema Local Government Area, do not have the right care at the right time in their communities. Their representatives, the leaders, the oil company in Asaa, the state through Primary Healthcare Development Agency have held these people and left them behind. Wasn't it the plan to leave no one behind?
This story is brought to you by Stories That Matter.